It's 1895. A German scientist named Wilhelm Röntgen is messing around with a weird glass tube and electricity in his lab. Suddenly, he notices something strange. A faint glow, coming from across the room. But here is the weird part. The tube is completely covered. No light should be escaping. Confused but curious, Röntgen names this strange invisible beam X-rays, because X stands for the unknown. And then does what any good scientist would do. He tests it on his wife's hand. The result? The world's first X-ray image. Her bones and her wedding ring. She sees the photo and reportedly yells, "I have seen my death." Dramatic? Yes. Understandable? Also yes. But what Röntgen accidentally discovered would go on to change everything, from medicine to airport security, even space science. So how do X-rays actually work? How does a machine see inside your body without making a single cut? Let's go deep. To understand how X-rays are made, we've gotta look inside the machine. It all starts with the X-ray tube. This thing is the beating heart of the machine. At the core, there are two key parts. The cathode, which shoots out electrons, and the anode, which takes the hit. These two are sealed in a glass tube with no air inside, a vacuum. So, what happens inside when you hit that exposure button? First, the cathode gets hot. Electricity heats up a filament, kinda like in an old-school light bulb. This heat causes the metal to release electrons. We call this fermionic emission. Basically, hot metal spits out electrons. Then, a massive voltage pulls those electrons across the vacuum. They slam into the anode at 1/3 the speed of light. No joke. And when they crash, that energy's gotta go somewhere. Most of it turns into heat, but a tiny fraction, just about 1%, gets released as X-rays. Some of these X-rays are made through Bremsstrahlung radiation, which literally means breaking radiation. It happens when an electron gets too close to a tungsten atom's nucleus and suddenly slows down. That loss of speed, it becomes an X-ray. Others are made by characteristic radiation. An electron knocks another one out of its shell, and when a new one falls into that spot, it releases a specific energy burst. Boom, another X-ray. Once the X-rays are created, they spread out from the tube. Some strong, some weak. But we don't want chaos, we want precision. That's where filters block out the weak rays, and a collimator like a camera shutter shapes the beam into a clean rectangle. And yeah, if you've ever seen an X-ray machine in real life, you probably noticed it's quite big. That's because it needs powerful motors, heavy shielding and cooling to control all that energy safely and precisely. To prevent the image from getting blurry, a grid is placed between the patient and the detector. It only lets X-rays traveling straight through pass, while blocking scattered rays. Now we've got a narrow, focused beam heading straight towards the patient. When the X-rays hit your body, it's all about density. Soft stuff like skin, fat and muscle, the rays pass right through. But hard stuff like bone or metal absorbs more rays. This creates a shadow effect. The more rays absorbed, the whiter the area appears. The more that pass through, the darker it shows up. That's why bones look white, lungs look dark, and everything else, various shades of grey. Doctors sometimes use contrast agents, special liquids that absorb X-rays well, to help organs or blood vessels stand out more clearly. Now, you might be wondering, if X-rays can go through your body, are they dangerous? Great question. X-rays are a form of ionizing radiation, which means they can interact with atoms in your body. But in medical imaging, the dose is extremely low. A chest X-ray gives you about the same amount of radiation as spending a few days on Earth. Still, we use them only when necessary, and radiologic technologists are trained to minimize exposure, because safety always comes first. And if you're curious about radiation itself, I've made a whole video about that. Definitely check it out after this one. So next time you're lying on that X-ray table, remember, just above you, electrons are flying at a very high speed, slamming into a tungsten target, releasing invisible beams that pass through your body, and creating a perfect shadow of your insides. All thanks to a curious man in 1895, and a wife who really didn't want to see her own skeleton. If this video helped you see X-rays in a new light, pun absolutely intended, drop a like, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button. We are getting super close to 100 subscribers, and every single one helps me grow this channel and keep making fun science-powered videos. I'll see you in the next one. Stay curious, folks.